Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our July installment of Fit Tech Tips, where we will be talking about Excel. Today, we have one of my favorite humans ever and a 20-year Excel expert, Nissa Franks. We will be dropping a brief survey, so please take a look at that in the chat and feel free to check out any questions that you have in the chat as well. And after Nissa's done, we'll do our best to answer those questions if the time allows. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Nissa. Thanks.
Thanks, Katie. Right. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today to talk to you and share some knowledge about Excel. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we go. All right, so I just want to give you a couple notes here really quick before we dive in. We're all coming from different backgrounds today. So some of you may be experts in Excel, like seasoned warriors, or some of you may be very basic users. So we're kind of shooting for the middle of the pack here, like maybe a little bit of a basic intermediate level. So hopefully you'll see something new, maybe something new and fun to try out, but I highly encourage you to play around with this a little bit. On another couple of notes here, I am using Windows 11, so you may notice that there are a few things that may look different than your setup. So I want to encourage you and just like comfort you and let you know that everything that I'm doing today is still an available function, no matter what version of Windows you're using. It just may look different and be in a different place. So I just want to share that. And then also, I have one more note for the end, and I'll share that with you after we're all done. So without further ado, I will go ahead and dive in. So I'm gonna just zoom. I think I'm zoomed in just enough. All right, so you can see here we have, we're gonna talk about tables and some of the formatting that we can do here. We've got some data. We've got this is the Dunder Mifflin Paper Company. You may see some familiar names here. And I've got a list here. And so I'm first going to show you how to turn this into a table. So we can do this in several different ways, but the way I'm going to show you today is we're going to insert right up here on this bar up here and table. And it automatically highlighted this table or this range of information. And I'm going to say that my table has headers and click OK. So now you can see that all of a sudden this data range looks different. We've got some filter arrows here and some other things. And I would like to actually change this. So if you want to see a different color or change the table design in any way, see this green highlighted selection here. I'm going to click that, and I want this black because I like everything black and white. So you can see we're going to just keep going. I want to show you, we started here. We've got our list of names. And I want to create, so this is something that I do on a regular basis. I may want to create something out of, I want some new email addresses in this last column, but I don't want to type them all out because there could be errors. There could be all sorts of things that can happen when you're just doing this manually. So I want to show you a way that you can increase your productivity by doing this automatically. So what I want to do is I want to have the first initial of the first name and the full last name and dundermifflin.com as their email address. So I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to show you how we're going to get this done without manually doing it all. So I'm going to create a couple of extra columns and you'll see why in a moment. And I want that first initial of that first name. So I'm going to select all of these people and I'm going to copy them and I'm going to paste them over here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, I'm going to separate this first initial by using text to columns. Using data, text to columns, and we're going to choose a fixed width. This is all recorded, so you can go back and rewatch this anytime you want. So I'm going to click next, and I want that first initial. So I'm going to put my little cursor right here, next, and finish. So now you see I have this information right here in this column, and I'm going to delete this column because I don't need it. Well, now I have these pieces of information and everything, but it looks like I may be far off, but really I just need a simple formula to put all of this together. So we use text to columns, and now we're going to use concatenate. So we've got all of our little things we're going to talk about here. I'm going to use concatenate and lower and a bunch of different things. I'm going to put it in a formula, and we're going to create all these new email addresses. Oops, it's opening up Outlook for me, which I don't want. Okay, in one fell swoop. So I'm going to show you how to do that with a simple formula. So I'm going to do concatenate first. We're going to concatenate the S and the Hudson equals concatenate. And I know all of these by heart, but you can see that it's coming up in several different places. So we've got it, the formula bar up here, and then we've got it down here too. So if you click on any of these, it'll come up with a formula helper bar to help you out. But I'm going to show you, because we have limited time today, I'm just going to type it all out. So I want to concatenate, which means bring these two things together, this, comma, and that to that thing. And then we're going to add another piece of information that is not in any of these columns with actual text done under Mifflin.com. There we go. But you know what? I don't want these two letters to be capitalized. So I'm going to add an extra piece of layer into this formula by putting in lowercase, because you can do that. You can make all of these lowercase. So I'm going to do lower, and then put my little bracket there, another bracket here, and there we go. We've got Stanley Hudson's new email address all the way there, and check it out. Now we can populate that entire table. There we go. And I keep accidentally clicking on that, so my apologies. It's going to bring me to Outlook again and ruin my screen.
Nissa, I'm going to hop in real quick.
Sure.
It looks like maybe the display of your camera is maybe covering a screen. Maybe we should go off camera for the rest.
Sure, yeah, let me go ahead and do that. I may have shared my screen incorrectly too, so I apologize. So let me find my screen again.
No worries.
There we go. I will go off camera. How does that work? Does that work better?
I believe so.
Any feedback that we can see? My apologies. I really wanted everybody to be able to see that.
No worries.
Okay. How about now? I don't think I can see myself. All right. If you still are having issues, please let me know. I will try to, do this live and make sure that you can all see what I'm doing. So I don't want these to be formulas anymore. So you can still see that this is a formula up here. And if I delete any of this information, it's going to delete this information here. So I'm going to copy and paste this as values. So I'm going to copy. And you can do copy and paste in multiple ways. I am using the keyboard shortcut Control-C, and then I'm going to right click because I want to paste values. And so you can see here, we've got all of our paste options. I want values because I want the values of those formulas, not the actual formulas in there. And then I'm just going to hit enter. And now you can see that each one of these is up here. You can see it up here in this formula bar up there. You can see that is the actual email address. All right, so let's move over. So we're going to go to our clients page. So Dunder Mifflin Paper Company has a bunch of clients. You can see a nice table right here. So it's already in a table. I could see though that some of this data has been entered in with different types of formatting. So I'm just going to format everything the way that I want it to look. So you can do this in multiple ways. Oops. So I'm just going to highlight all of this just to make sure it's all in the same formula or formatting. I'm going to go to home, and then I'm going to do normal text, and it's just going to normalize that text to what this table has already been formatted for. All right. So I've got my sales team from Dunder Mifflin right here in this column right here, and I want to see who has. We can do this multiple ways. We did say we're going to show you the count if function, so I'm going to show you the count if formula. I think I can do this pretty much anywhere I want, and actually I want to see this top row here, so I'm going to freeze my panes by clicking view, freeze panes, and then I'm going to do freeze these panes so that when I scroll down, I'm going to be able to see all of that every time, throughout the whole spreadsheet. So I want to show you count if. So we're going to type in equals count if parentheses, and we're going to select this range of people, this range of data. And then what's my criteria? I want to know how many clients Michael Scott has. So I'm going to type in Michael Scott. And he has 14 clients. So that's a count if. You can use this in multiple different situations. If you have large pieces of data and you just want to count how many, there's so many formulas you can use to manipulate and count data or average data or whatever you want to do. This is just one of those ways. So count if is a very handy formula you can use. But I want to show you the next one is a pivot table. And we're going to do that in this table, and we're also going to do that actually in the next table as well, in my sales table. But first, we're going to just create that pivot table, which is very, very simple. All you're going to do is click in your table. You're going to go to Insert up here and Pivot Table. And I always just choose the default and hit OK. You can see that it created a brand new spreadsheet tab down here with a pivot table blank right here. And here's our pivot table fields. Please tell me, raise your hand if you cannot see this. This is how you interact with your pivot table. So what I want to do is I want to see how many and which clients each of those sales reps have. So I'm going to select sales rep first, and it's you just check it here, and it automatically figures that it wants to put you want that in the rows. And then I'm going to say company as well. And so you could see it automatically just put these things all in the little summary of this data. Andy Bernard has all of these different clients, Jim Halpert. You can even count these. So I'm going to put the company field down here in values, and it's going to count them. So how many does Andy have? 10. Michael Scott has 14. Phyllis has 12. And so it's a very handy tool. There's so much that you can do with a pivot table, but this is a very basic way that you can use it. If you have totals, which we'll show you in the next sheet over here with sales, we're going to do that in a little bit more of a summarizing way. So I'm going to delete that just so that I have it nice and clean. All right, here we go. So we've got a few things that I want to go through here. We're going to show you another pivot table and a VLOOKUP, which is one of a very, very handy time-saving productivity formula that I use regularly. So we're going to do the same thing with a pivot table over here. We're going to insert pivot table. Same thing, we've got it in another sheet. So we've got our sales pivot table here. And now what I want to do is we are going to do by company. What are the sales? And in fact, I want to do something first because this isn't giving me what I want. I want to see which sales rep goes to each one of these companies and how much sales each of those sales reps has. So we're going to do a couple more things, and we're actually going to do VLOOKUP first, and then we're going to look at that pivot table again. So I'm going to add another column here for our VLOOKUP. And so with tables, it's great because when you add in a formula, it will auto-populate throughout the whole table. So when you see me enter that formula, it's going to go through this entire column. So I'm going to do equals VLOOKUP. And then we're going to look up. So this is what we're looking at. We want to look up where this company in this table, right? So this table has our company and our sales rep. We're looking for that company. And then the next is, actually, I think I messed that one up just a little bit. So let me restart this VLOOKUP. We're gonna look here, and then we put a comma to separate that. And then we're gonna go back to clients, and we're gonna select our company because we're looking for the company, but what we wanna provide as a result is that sales rep. So we're gonna select all of those things because it's looking for in column C, and we're gonna supply it with column D. So column, and actually it doesn't go with the letters. We're gonna do how many columns of data are we looking through? It's 2. So the first one is column C and the second one is column D. So we're gonna do the second column, second column, and then we want the exact match. So we're gonna say false because we want an exact match. So now we have the first name and last name, company, and now we have their sales rep. So I'm gonna copy this and paste as values because I don't want that to change when I sort or do anything to the data. So now we have our sales rep. I know I'm going really fast, but you can always rewatch this. So now let's go back to our pivot table. Here's a handy function for this pivot table. Let's refresh this data, refresh all. So now it has that new column in here, sales rep. The selected sales rep. I'm actually going to move company down, and you can see what that does when I do this. So now what we can do is we see, this is very handy. In January, Andy sold 6,300. Going to make that dollars, 6,300. And you can see each one of those companies that he sold to in January of 2024. There is your VLOOKUP. It's very handy when you have 2 tables of data that you have similar and you want to compare information and have a more accurate summary of information. All right, so there's a couple other things that I wanted to show you. Something that we can also use here with this particular table is a handy feature, and I'm gonna also freeze my panes here, view, freeze panes here, because I want to see those headers. This is very handy. We're actually going to just right click in the table, go down to table. We're going to do totals row. It formats it real nice for you. So right now we've got a grand total here, but we can right click in here. Actually, we can just have the drop down. We can do an average. So let's see what that average is. So it's going to average that from January. There's the average, and you can select. You can count the numbers. How many clients? That's going to be how many clients you have. And then we've got standard deviation and count and average, and you can do a sum. I want to do a sum here. So I'm going to auto sum that. And then it populates throughout this whole thing. All right. Well, that was a lot in a very short amount of time. There's so much to Excel that it is impossible to go through a good amount in a short amount of time. But I wanted to share these with you because I find these to be the most helpful functions in my regular computing lifestyle or life throughout the month, the week, the day, to help my productivity. So I really hope this is helpful for you. Yeah, and would love to hear any questions and perhaps even demo anything that you have questions about.
Thanks so much, Nessa. I would say you really excelled at that training. Can you show us how to identify duplicates in a table?
Sure. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's see if we do have a duplicate in this table. I did put this together rather quickly, so there is a possibility that I may have a duplicate here. So I'm going to do conditional formatting because that's the quickest way to identify a duplicate. So we have these companies in this column right here. I highlighted the column, and you're going to go up to conditional formatting, highlighting cells rules. Check it out. There's a duplicate values right there. Let's see if we have any duplicate values. No, we don't. But let's check and see what happens if I do put a duplicate value in here. All right. Oh, there we go. It will automatically highlight that duplicate value for you, which is very handy when you're dealing with lots and lots of data. You can identify those very quickly.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah.
We have another question. Can you show us some tips on formatting data quickly?
Sure. One of my favorite ways to format that any kind of data really quickly is using Format Painter. You can also, tables are really helpful in this too. So if you create a table from a range like we did for a staff list right here, you can automatically apply lots of really great formatting with that. So for example, if I wanted to, we have this whole styles here. You can click down and you can have nice themed cells. You can say this is good. But if you want to have everything be like the same format, Format Painter is very helpful. And the really great thing about Format Painter is it's going to show up in other Microsoft applications as well. So if you're seeing the same thing in like PowerPoint and Word, it does very similar things. Of course, Excel is different in its own unique ways. I love Format Painter specifically for its ability to, especially in Excel, you can double click on a Format Painter and you could take that one cell and format here, 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 and it doesn't stop until you push escape or you push this Format Painter button again. And now it's done. See that? Oh, and let me tell you another one of my favorites. You know, when you're moving around these, actually, let's take a bigger piece of data. If you're moving around columns and, you know, it's kind of clunky, you don't, instead of doing something like, I'm going to move this one all the way over here. Yeah, do that. And now we have this empty one. I have to delete this. Well, check this out. Instead of doing those things manually, you can push the shift button while you're selecting this. So I'm pushing shift right now, and now I'm moving this column over, and you can see it's got this line. So what's it going to do when I release? Now it's going to put it there, and there's no space over here, which I think is really handy when you're moving cells and columns around. That's the same thing for rows. You can do the same thing here. You select it when you have this special little crosshair, shift, and then you just move it down. And then your data is all safe. It's not like you moved everything. You didn't write over anything. It's just inserted in there.
Awesome. I have another
Cool.
question. What is your most used shortcut on your in your daily work?
Okay, so there's a lot. It depends on what I'm doing, but there are a few, and I use a lot of them right now when we were doing this demonstration just to save time. I use, especially in Excel, I use the control and the arrow keypad. So if you have that keypad on your keyboard, which I think most of everybody does, even on my laptop, I have one. So I push control, and here I'm in this column. I use, when I am going through, this is my arrow keypad. You can see me moving through. Control down. I'm now down to the very end of my data, or at least the next blank cell. So let me put this in not blank column. So now I'm at the bottom, and now I'm at the end. So I'm just moving with my arrow keypad. Another one that I use and this is also in multiple, like all these keyboard shortcuts that I use regularly are all available in and do some sort of functioning in the other Microsoft applications as well. So Control C for copy. And because it's a table, it's doing extra fun things, but Control C, and then Enter, or Control C and then Control V, and you can do Control V multiple places. So copy and paste. And then there's often times where I'm like working maybe in a budget spreadsheet or something like that, and I want to duplicate information. I Control D is another way to do that. Let me show you. Duplicate that. So you can see now it's also highlighting that duplicate value right there. So those are some of my most used shortcuts. There's so many. I don't even think about them very often, just because it's more muscle memory than just remembering the keyboard shortcuts. So I highly recommend, if you don't use keyboard shortcuts regularly, I highly recommend checking them out on Microsoft's website. There are a myriad of them. You can use them in multiple different Microsoft applications, and it's a huge time saver when you're, instead of scrolling through a large piece of data, you can just use your nice little keyboard shortcuts and go through, and more accurate that way too, I think.
Awesome. Thanks so much for all that, Nissa.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, everyone, for attending. We will be sending a follow-up email with a recording of this training and the survey as well. So if you missed it in the Q&A, you can fill it out there. We will be also reaching out for the next one in August, so look forward to that. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everyone.